and welcome you all. I'm just thrilled to see everybody's face. Thank you for making the time and figuring out through this maze of technology how to get here. I think we have a lot of those that are really good at this, probably better than I am. So thank you. And Tom, thank you for hooking Joe in. Nice to see you again. We usually start our meetings with a Pledge of Allegiance. So I'd ask everybody to please join me in that. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of
America, and to the republic which stands
one
nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
Thank you. Great job. I don't have a flag here. I feel terrible, but in my mind. So what we normally will do is start with new business, and under new business, we are welcoming our guest speaker, who is Mr. Joe Carbone, President and CEO of The Workplace, and actually a personal friend. And I'm just thrilled, Joe, that you were able to make the time to be with us today. I'm pretty sure, based on the position of our Director for Human Services serving on your board, that kind of helped. Because I know I don't have that kind of clout to get your time. So thank you, Julie. That was great to be able to get Joe's attention and certainly his knowledge, experience. And, you know, Joe, I look at your motto, think it forward, and I love it because you know that the minute I saw you on 60 Minutes, I had to meet you. And, you know, for those of you who don't know Joe, he's going to tell you all about his wonderful years of the workplace and what he does and his wonderful team and obviously staff. You know, the workplace, just to tell you, administers development, coordinates providers of job training and education programs, but that doesn't even touch the surface on what Joe's going to tell us about. But I do know personally he believes in the power of ideas to affect great change and is a #1 advocate, in addition to many other roles, for workforce development. And that is throughout the region, the state, and the nation, which is huge. And I'm just so excited for him to provide us an update on the milestones the workplace has made, because when you have an opportunity, please check out their website. There is just so much great information on there. And, you know, Joe
Laura?
is, yeah.
I'm sorry, before you pass it over to Joe, could everybody who's not muted, mute, please? Thanks.
Yeah, we got a lot of noise, right? So, you know, I'm really anxious to see how Joe might be able to tie in some of our goals and objectives on the Human Services Commission of trying to engage seniors in finding, you know, meaningful work, because there's so many people 50 and over that don't know how to re-navigate the workplace. So maybe, Joe, you can help touch on that a little bit too for me. So I don't want, this isn't my time, it's yours. So thank you again, Joe. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce you to this wonderful commission.
And thank you so much. Actually, anyone here could have invited me. We have had the pleasure for many years of having people on our board of directors and or our executive committee of the board that are part of your operation in Fairfield. Currently, my good friend Julie, who lends so much wisdom to our work. But before her, we had Terry. And before her, we had Barbara Butler, who served for a good number of years. And it's been a case in which Barbara kind of introduced us to Terry, and Terry introduced us to Julie. So I have had the benefit of not just your support, but I think the wisdom that these members of my board have brought to our product for 25 years that I've been here at the workplace now. So let me say thank you for those 25 great years. Good friend with your first elect person, Brenda. Wonderful person, and she's done some great work for me as well. So with that, let's get on with the show. I am Joe Carbone. I'm President and CEO of The Workplace. And Tom Long is my VP for Marketing, Planning, And he's in charge of a program that would be of interest to you because it's called CSEP. And it was founded back in 59. It's under the Older Americans Act. The Senior Community Service Employment Act is what it is. And you need to be 55 or older. Now, none of us in this room are 50 years of age, so it might be difficult for us to gather with that, but we got to think a little bit older these days. And with that, Tom will go to my first page. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about the workplace for folks who might not know what we are. We have been around for 38 years. Our 40th anniversary will be coming up in 2023. And when we were founded by some of the, I think, the largest business leaders in our region. And they had good reason. They assembled this district, and you'll note it really goes from Greenwich, Connecticut, right on the border of New York, and right up to Beacon Falls, up in the Naugatuck Valley. It's a collection of 20 towns that are, in many cases, very different, including the city of Bridgeport, Stratford, and yet you've got some of the most affluent towns in America along the coast and especially north of the coast. And they had this notion that let's bring this diverse group together, and we believe maybe they can make things better. And I think their wisdom was well taken, because part of our strength is the fact that we are as diverse as we are. And in many respects, the booming economy of a Stanford or a Greenwich will help people in Bridgeport to find employment. So it was very important to do that. This information about some of the things we do. We are a national operator, so we don't just do work in Connecticut. This is our region under the Workforce Investment Act, but we manage a number of programs that are statewide in Connecticut, and we have a presence in probably 8 or 9 different states across the nation as well. So we've got national status, and we're administering more than 20 programs that were usually the result of major grants that we have won. So the American Job Centers, we have a major comprehensive one in Bridgeport, one in Stanford, and 2 in the Valley, one in Derby and one in Ansonia. And more than 30,000 people a year come through our doors. Tom? We give you a little bit of the local economic data. Connecticut has recovered a good number of its jobs that it lost during this recession that began in March. But we are still trailing in many respects. And in the past year, as you can see here, the number of people employed in Connecticut, the size of the Connecticut employment market has shrunk, not just for unemployment. Keeping in mind as I go through this report that Connecticut has fewer people today in its population than it had 10 years ago. And keep in mind, we are one of the oldest states in the country. And when I say that, I'm talking about the average age of our population. I think by the way, Stratford, Connecticut, you should know, has the oldest average age of any town in any state in America. Anybody ever realize that? Stratford, Connecticut. One time I was invited to be a guest speaker. They have a senior citizen program right in, the lordship part of Stratford. I was invited to be a speaker at one of their meetings one day for lunch. And I was upset with a member of my staff who accepted the invitation. I'm thinking I'm going to have maybe 10 people there, right? And none of them are employed. They must have had 400 people there for lunch. And that was representative of the fact that it's an older population. And as a state, that is troubling us right now. The fact that our population is not growing is one, and the factor that we are older, average age, than many of our competing states. And I'll get to some of the data on that in just a second. Tom, you want to go next? One of our big projects here for years has been dealing with long-term unemployment. Now, you all know that the number of weeks that is considered to be standard in unemployment is 27. So when you get to the point that you have, like we did in the Great Recession, where you had 99 weeks of benefits, you're really going far beyond what the normal periods are. So you can see here, 27 weeks is basically the standard. But this pandemic has been very difficult for us. As you can see here from the data, we're not recovering. It's taking people longer to get reemployed. Many of the former employers are no longer employers. They're out of business. So this recession is different from the one that we had a number of years ago. I'm going to describe it more thoroughly in just a minute, but it's fair to say, keep this in mind. The recession of 2008 started on Wall Street. It was when Lehman collapsed and all the big investment houses were losing money. That's where it started. Unlike that one, this one started on Main Street. This one started among the lower earners, not the higher earners. It didn't trickle down. It's slightly bubbling up, but it's right now concentrated on the foundation of the Connecticut workforce. I'm going to give you more data on that in just a second. Tom? We take you back a second to the 6th of March of last year. It was a Friday. And the first Friday of every month, Secretary of Labor issues what's called the jobs report. Well, that report that day, it was a record for America. We had the lowest unemployment rate in American history. We had more people working than any other time in American history. More women, more minorities, every sector, everything that's kind of calculated, every possible index, we were at the top of the chart. That's how great it was. So we're looking here, and I think the first column is going to tell you what it was. 3.7% unemployment. The U6 is when you count the discouraged workers or people that are working part-time but need to work full-time. And the number of people that filed unemployment claims in Connecticut, that's the average per week, around 3,000 per week in our state, right? And we generally had about 43,000 people collecting unemployment, even in the best of times, because of the processing of 3,000 claims per week. Look at where it is today. The official unemployment rate in our state is 8.3. When you use the U6 again, the number is 14.1. Right? You look at the size of our labor force. This is quite significant. The labor force is made up of people that are working or people that are looking for work. So you got to be actively looking for work. Why is that number a danger? It's not just that it's a danger now. That number has been really diminishing for years in Connecticut. This is a major problem. When you lose population, when you got a record for being 50 out of 50 at retaining our own kids that graduate. When you rank all the states, what percentage of the kids stay in the state? We are 50 out of 50. Our kids flee when they graduate. Now, why is that a problem? It's a problem because of talent. You need talent. You need smart, innovative, creative people to help you to keep the economy kind of fortified with skill and with talent. And look at what we got here. And look at the size of that variance. I mean, this has been the most significant and fastest shift in all of the indexes that we chart in history. So March 6th, you have the best economy in American history. And about 10 days later, you saw a shutdown across the board. We closed here on the 17th of March. We still have people here in shifts. So it's like you got a Monday and Tuesday run, and you got a Thursday and Friday run, and everybody works from home on Wednesday. But it's like you're always measuring, never let the two meet, at least in person. you can meet in Zoom. We have been as vigilant as we could to protect our employees and deal with cases. Occasionally, there was a positive test for employees. We did our tracking. We put everyone in quarantine, and we've kept it under control. So I'm really proud of my staff for doing that. But as you can see here, the pandemic has been very, very damaging across the nation. But if you look at Connecticut's recovery numbers, our numbers are not keeping pace with the national. Now, this affects every one of the indexes. Connecticut, if you go back to the Great Recession, Connecticut never regained in 10 years all the jobs that it lost leading up to the 2008 recession. We're one of only 3 states that can claim that. So we had a problem even before this. And now this simply confounded that problem. But you can see the variance here. It's very strong. And our recovery numbers are much weaker than the national number or the numbers of other states in our region. You want to look at a state, by the way, you got a state of Massachusetts. I mean, it's been a soaring economy, and they are moving very fast to get back to their more normal numbers. Tom, I'm going to give you some demographic information. You might ask the question, who are the folks that are unemployed? You know, there is nearly 200,000 people that are now collecting unemployment benefits in our state. They get a check every week. Who are they? And how did they differ from the people in the Great Recession? Did you realize that some 40% of the people who are unemployed and collecting are people that are younger? They're talking about people that are anywhere from 20 to 39. That's just about the opposite. The Great Recession, there appeared to be a target of people once you hit 50, right? As employers tried to reorganize, the tendency, and it was visible, right? The tendency was hire someone young because they're going to be more tech savvy. Hire somebody young because they're going to be less concerned about our pension system or health system. Hire somebody young because they're not going to be married to us. Younger people tend to be willing to go from job to job to job to job. And that seemed to be the prevailing idea at the moment. So they were younger. And look at this. This is sharp. 55% of the people that fell into the category that lost their job were male. And this time it's 55% female. Last time when it came to earnings, some 24% of the people, all right, that lost employment in the Great Recession are people that made $30,000 a year or less. You know where we are today? Look at this number. 65% of the people that are collecting unemployment right now are people that made $35,000 a year or less in 2019. What does that tell you? It tells you that this recession is on the back of the poorest among us. $35,000 a year is not a lot of money anywhere, but especially here in Connecticut. And this could be a family of 1 or it could be a family of 10. But that's what it is. That's a dramatic shift from the Great Recession. Dramatic shift. And what does it say to agencies that are here to help people, the regional safety net? What does it say? It says that the longer the high unemployment goes on, the longer a recession goes on, the longer the Connecticut lags. These are your customers. As they begin to lose benefits, they lean on the regional safety net. You saw the numbers I gave you before. These are staggering numbers. And you start off with folks that don't have much leverage in terms of assets because they not earn very much. They don't have a lot of security in their life. And they're becoming long-term unemployed. By definition, and you can see here, by the way, in the last one, let me touch that. by definition, you can see here that it's also affecting people who, by and large, only have a high school diploma or less. They make up more than half of that group. All right, so you got the poorest among us. They're not least educated, but they're less educated than what the norm is in the region. They are predominantly women. They are predominantly people of color, especially women of color. This is different. And the response as part of the recovery needs to be different as well. And I have been going around talking to, social service agencies and regional boards and so, talking to them saying, get prepared for this. Right? Unemployment benefits at some point will have to end. They will have to end. Now, I know folks need them right now, but I'm going to tell you, people need to go back to work. And at some point, the amount of dollars that are offered in unemployment benefits and the bonus that comes with it, you can't have a variance as great as this in terms of what people earned and what they're receiving in unemployment benefits. It's the old equation. If you're better off not working, then you begin to convince yourself that the difference between what I'm collecting and what I earned before is $30 a week, or even $50 a week, most folks would say, well, if you're looking for a return on investment, stay home. But that kind of a scenario will bring you right to long-term unemployment. And when you go to long-term unemployment, everything changes. Your marketability to get back into the job changes. You become very complacent. It leads to problems with alcoholism, with drugs, with spousal abuse. All kinds of problems begin when that happens. And I said before, 44% of our unemployed in Connecticut, 44% are folks who are long-term unemployed already there. So I'm not trying to be overly dramatic about it, but we've got to be cognizant of what is coming, be prepared for it, and help to better understand what I think is the most important real remedy to this. And I touched on it before. People need to go back to work. And they need to go back to work even if it means they're going to be earning less than what they're collecting. They need to go back to work even if, in fact, they're earning much less than what they're collecting. We've got to stop and break the cycle of long-term unemployment. If we don't do that, these numbers and this thing, it will continue for years. That's how bad it can be. Huh? Now, this is a program Laura alluded to. It was covered by 60 Minutes a number of years ago. And this is, we did a lot of study. And this is in the height of the recession. We said, who are these people? And what are their challenges? Because the American workforce system is based on this. They defined it as 27 weeks. They never had to worry about unemployment going on much longer. Because all the previous recessions, we've had 7 since World War II. I've been a student of all of them. That's been my life, my work in economics and recessions. That was certainly different. So the Department of Labor didn't have a program. Didn't say, well, what do you do? Does it make a difference if a person is out of work for 6 months or a person is out of work for 2 years? You bet it makes a difference. You bet it makes a difference. You will not just get complacent. Things like depression set in, all that stuff. It becomes tougher every single day to get yourself back into the discipline of work. And the more that becomes your obstacle, the less marketable you will be in the office, the less you will be. So we created this program. And this program said, Number one, we've got to break the cycle. We've got to get you back into a position where you can market yourself. You offer something to employers. So we came up with a 5-week program, classes 4 days a week, all day. And the trainer is a professional trainer, and they get you back into the mode where you can begin to feel your self-confidence coming back. We deal with the emotional challenges, things like depression. And we offer employers an opportunity to kind of test them. Employers don't want to make the hire. There's an immediate exposure and liability when you make the hire. So they're on my payroll. We've had people that go through platform to employment are on our payroll at the workplace for a period of 6 to 8 weeks. We pay the full wage. And 95% of the time, 95%, the employer makes the hire. And usually it doesn't even go 6 or 8 weeks. They make the hire. They want a chance to see it themselves, that this person is not lazy. They're not responsible for their own employment, but they will give them a chance once they've had that opportunity to see how they can work. It's market driven. We're not asking for charity. We're not saying to folks, be a good corporate citizen and please do this. No, it's a market driven approach, and it's also respectful of the honor and dignity of our customers. It's national. It's become the only tool in the nation. In fact, President Obama he did a half-day seminar in the East Room of the White House a few years ago, and he featured this program. It was a play. When I was there, it was great being on the stage with Pelly, but I was in the White House. Actually, Biden was the VP back then, so he was there, and I had lunch with him, sat right across the table from him. So this program has been featured. It's got success. 80% of the people that come through this end up in a job, and you'll see what the current rate of wages are. Nearly $70,000. Everyone that goes through that, that's the average wage. And 95% of the employers, as I said before, make the hire. Over 1,400 unique employers in only our state of Connecticut. We're doing this in Rhode Island. We're doing it elsewhere too. But over 1,400 unique employers have hired people from platform to employment. That's a huge and great base to start with, because they come back for another, and they come back for another. So we're on the road with this program. My hope is it's going to help Connecticut get back as well. One of the things you asked about was veterans, Tom. We are on a regional basis, not just the map I showed you, but from New Haven County right up through the top of Litchfield County. We are it's a program, support services for veteran family. So it's competitive. So we've won the competition for a number of years, and it provides a whole variety, virtually anything that a veteran needs in order to be sustained during a period of unemployment, or if they're going through some kind of depression or anything of that sort. We do that. Our American Job Centers are staffed with people that are familiar with ways in which they can help. They can help the veterans and take advantage of all the veteran type programs that come through the VA and the Department of Labor. Sometimes it's difficult to find the veterans for the programs. We have a program that is called Platform to Employment for Machinists. All right, this is to get veterans into positions, ultimately to try to make it so that they can deal in high-tech kinds of manufacturing, that very well-paying jobs that frankly are going begging. All right, and so we're administering that program. It's not easy to find veterans that will make that longer-term commitment for that project. Anybody that you have that's willing to establish a career like that, please refer them. Any veteran you know that is not working or having any kind of difficulties, please refer them. That's what we get this money to do, to help them in the meantime including to help their families. But ultimately, it's to bring them to employment. And so please feel free to make referrals. Now to get to my last slide. I mentioned this program, we call it MaturityWorks. On the map, you'll see that we do it in New York City. We do it in 4 of the 5 boroughs. We do it in Pennsylvania, including city of Philadelphia and 3 or 4 counties on the perimeter of Philly. And we do it statewide in Rhode Island and Connecticut. So we have what was it, 800, we're serving 827 people. They're on the payroll every week. They are paid the minimum wage. They're assigned to a host agency, a private not-for-profit, and they do a whole variety of things. Ultimately, the objective is to get them a job. Excuse me. When that happens, a cup of tea doesn't. But they're there for that purpose. And our rate of getting them jobs and moving them into private sector employment is darn good. And Tom has made a huge difference in moving people in the right direction and establishing programs where we can get them to be familiar with an iPad, Chrome, whatever, so that even in times like this, they can work and they can earn. We've had great success with it. But we always take referrals. We have probably a couple hundred of those units are in Connecticut. We're always looking for people that we can add to it. So that's the world according to Joe. And I've taken up more time than I promised that I would. I don't know if we have time for questions, but I'll defer to you on that. But even if you don't, let me tell you, just thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you for the people you have brought to my board. They've been a delight, and I can't even give you a guess as to how much of the things that they have done to make us better. So with that, Laura?
Thank you, Joe. Very comprehensive overview of the many years of work you've put in to bring the workplace where it is today. So that is phenomenal. And I'm so happy it's recorded because there was a lot of information there that I think many of us would probably like to go back and re-review.
Sure.
Which is great. And we do have a few minutes for questions and answers. So that's great. And, you know, I may be back to you at some point with Julie's help and figure out how we might be able to fashion a program for our seniors locally. So thank you, Joe. So who has a question for Joe?
Gentleman right beneath me here. Right?
Looks like George.
That would be me. Thank you
Hi,
very
George.
much for the for this presentation, Joe. 2 questions. First, with respect to veterans, do you work at all with Homes for the Brave in Bridgeport?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're our partner on virtually every program we had.
Okay.
Including, for years, we did the veteran reintegration program, the housing, and that was not only to get them jobs and skills, it was to get them into permanent housing. And they were our main partner on that, but they still are a major partner on helping us with the SSDF program.
Good. And in the future, our commission hopes to do more work with veterans, if I get my act together, right, Julie? So we may reach out to you to see if we can coordinate that as well.
Yeah.
The other question is, I just was curious in terms of the nature of the jobs that you offer through Platform to Employment. Can you give us just a few examples of
Sure.
employers and the nature of the employment? You know, ranging from the most minimal to the highest, most advanced positions.
Yeah, because admission is simply based upon a person being long-term unemployed. It covers the whole gamut. In the history of this program, we had people that made $1 million a year. And we had other people that were really on minimum wage. The only requirement is that you be in that category of long-term unemployed. But again, we're not getting people who made $1 million on this one. but we got them on the last one. But in terms of employment disciplines, it covers the whole realm of different job titles, and people are successful. When you can get an average wage up that high, nearly $70,000 in our region, there's got to be something about the program that's helping people who are unemployed overcome it. There's got to be something. So it's there. It's, the secret sauce that no one knows the secret, but it's there.
Thank you.
Barbara.
Hi, also I echo thank you for being here and for all the great work that you've been doing. I had a question though, kind of piggybacking what George just asked. So in light of the different numbers you're seeing for COVID specific, the statistics of people of color and less educated, et cetera, what is the workplace like? What have you been talking about to kind of meet those needs now? Because I think the platform to employment, might not be reaching those people.
Well, I mean, it does reach them. The program is active every day and bringing new people. Every orientation group usually is 20 to 25 people. And you're going to have classes 4 days a week for 5 weeks, and then we'll go on to another group and another group. So it's attracting people that are indicative of the characteristics that I described earlier of the economy. And it continues, by the way, to also attract a lot of people that are at that 50 and older point.
Mm-hmm.
But we've made a connection through the United Way of Connecticut. We're establishing ways in which at the American Job Centers, a person can immediately get connected with somebody who can also tell them, well, in addition to your being here about job training or about a job period, there's a way in which we can find out if now you're eligible for SNAP. You're eligible for any of the programs that are there to assist people in need. So we merged the two, and time will tell how well it works, but we did something similar during the Great Recession, and it worked very, very well.
And I had one second part as commissioners, and some of us are in social service ourselves. What can we do to help, I guess, spread the word or reach populations maybe that you're not reaching, like what, and, specifically for Julie with seniors, like how do we bridge the gap? It's great to have great programs, but you got to get folks who want to take advantage of them. So what can we do to help, I guess?
Well, I mean, we saw the CSAP program. That's always something that, quite frequently there's an opening so people could get referred to CSAP. If it's part-time and they're older, they can do that. But in your travels, regardless of the age of the person, people that come through your doors, encourage them, go to work. Don't get caught up in this quagmire of looking at the dollars that you're getting free or the dollars that you would get. Long term, they are heading for a disaster. The further they go out, every day, the chances of their ever coming back are reduced. Could just be a fraction. But if they don't do something to interdict that pathway, they are heading in the wrong direction. Everybody that contributes to convincing somebody to get back to work has done something very, very noble. Trust me.
Thank you.
It's great.
Can I just say something quick? I just wanted to mention one of the unique things about the workplace is that if somebody is involved in a program, the workplace has had more success in getting mortgage assistance through the state to their participants and others. I understand you process others' applications. We've had very little luck in social services with that because the applications are so cumbersome and we don't have the staff to be able to help people through those processes. So one of the gifts about this program, of all these programs, is that you don't fall through the cracks. If there's a way to get assistance to help you complete that program, they understand that. And I think that's a really important point to point out. I think to point out, we refer to the workplace a lot for people. And it's just, there's so many pieces to it that make it successful. And I just think that's great. And they're in the same building as SWACA. Joe and Tom, Linda DiLorenzo, who was on this call, used to be in charge of SWACA. So somebody, and I think that's a workplace employment location, right? That you place people there?
I'm sorry.
For
Bridgeport.
SWACA, yeah.
That we what?
Isn't that a spot of an employment spot at SWACA to have, or like?
Yeah, well, just a few hours away. We've
Yeah.
got the American Job Center. It's on Fairfield and Lafayette. And it's a very good sized job center. So we're at 1,000 Lafayette, right down the street.
Yeah.
On the 5th floor, we got the whole 5th floor. And we're busy all day, if not working from here, working from home, but it looks like, beginning sometime the end of next month, it looks like it's going to be, partially lifted so that we can bring everybody back like a family. And that's been one of the great parts of our work here and our success is that, we're here and we're talking to each other, and, you hire people that are passionate about the mission and they interact with each other very well. And you're trying to build something from that. That's what's lost in all of this. And we have picked out a dozen different ways to keep the interaction going. I missed today at 4 o'clock every day. We do what is called positivity. Anybody can join in. Everybody gets about a minute. You basically talk about what was good that day and what was bad that day. How you feeling? How you feeling? We want to uplift people. So it has turned out to be an enormous success. Enormously. And I go almost every day. Well, I mean, I've been there today because of this, but otherwise, I usually go almost every day. Sometimes you see laughter, and we have seen a lot of tears. But we've got to know each other well. We don't waste any time. People know each other well, a lot better, and they also know what people do. It's good to be able to know that you got somebody who can help you with this. All right? And that's been made possible. It wasn't like that before, but it is now. We made good use of this time. It's terrible, but we made good use of it.
Well, you've been very positive to us today, Joe, very uplifting, and we so appreciate your time and talent. And Tom, thank you for helping, and we hope to see you again down the road, Joe. We're cognizant of your valuable time, so we won't call you every month.
Call me whenever you want. Whenever you want.
Okay. Thanks again.
Thank you, guys.
Good to see you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Laura.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye, Julie.
See ya. Thank you.
So I think commission members, I thought that was fabulous, as you probably all do as well. We can move through our agenda, which is moving on to Carolyn Durkee usually gives us a report on the health department. I don't know, Julie, if you have anything, or Brenda on that,
Nope.
but if not, then we'll just wait for Carolyn for next month.
Great.
Julie gave us a little tidbit of information, health oriented, which I'm sure she'll cover in her department update. So we'll move on. Loretta, fill us in on people with disabilities.
Our committee did not meet this week. It was school vacation and a lot of people were away. So, the last we spoke, I don't think we have any new updates. We're still waiting, on our charge. Once the budget is settled, I hope that we'll have that meeting, and hope to have more next month.
Right. So basically, we're still waiting on that meeting with the RTM, right? Is that where we're at?
We're waiting on a meeting with the first select women and other executive leadership. And
Okay.
she's waiting on, and the budget has to get through the RTM. So that's what she's waiting on.
Okay. And that's usually what, May?
First week of May, it's scheduled.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're
And one of
on
the
track.
one of the important things just to remember in this is that, we've been, we've had some months where there's no reason to meet, some months where it's challenging to meet. but if it's important that the committee not lose momentum, because if they can point to, well, you haven't met in 6 months, then that does not indicate urgency. So I just
Right.
wanted to throw
Right.
that out there.
So I guess I could also add on is that outside of our meeting, we have been working on resource directory, resource information, and to focus on that and develop that. That's outside of meeting time, offline. So we are working, but we were unable to have the meeting.
And we will have a meeting in May, so that's
Yes.
good to keep
Yep.
on that momentum, right?
Mhm.
Anybody else have any questions for Loretta? We're good? Excellent. For those of you going on to new business, I just received my email from Herb giving us the Fairfield Senior Advocate update. He apologizes that he just sent it, but I will forward that to anybody that didn't receive it. But I think you're all copied on it pretty much. So we can go through that separately. So on to new business. I guess Julie, let you take over here with department update.
Great. I think I'll just pass it first to Brenda, so she can update us on all things COVID call center and health department, because Brenda doesn't not go to the health department meetings, but she is talking constantly to staff there. So Brenda.
Yes, hi everyone. So we had a big day at the health center today. We administered our 20,000th vaccine, which was really, really exciting. And this week, I believe, or next week, we're about to administer our 100th homebound vaccine. So Fairfield has really just done a phenomenal job, the Department of Health and all town bodies and so many volunteers. We just should be so proud as a town. I feel proud. I know you've read all of the updates but when you see and hear those numbers, it really is extraordinary what the Department of Health and the volunteers have done. So they've just, along with a lot of contact tracing that they've had to do, I've been very happy to be part of it, and we should all be so proud. So the call center itself is winding down. We'll probably stop staffing it after next week. We've, just had very few calls. There are a lot more vaccination sites. The younger population know how to navigate the system and get appointments. So, we've been doing it since mid-January. So the call center has been really great, very successful, but we'll probably wind that down. And, I'll kind of move way into work on the opening of the senior center, which we're excited about. We still don't have the exact date, but Julie and I and the rest of the team are working on it. So we're really looking forward to that. But I want to make sure that we do it safely and, do it well and thought out so that we keep everyone safe while, making our members happy. So we're busy doing that as well. Did I miss anything, Julie?
No, not at all. I have to say that one of the greatest things that Brenda brings to us is her organization and patience. So aside from the call center and helping us coordinate shots for people without technology and the homebound, because she's an integral part of that. What you don't see behind the scenes is that we sit in on meetings with all the other senior centers in the state, and those centers are struggling with the non-technology people for the vaccinations and also for the homebound visits. And we have had very smooth sailing, and I'm really proud of that. And also with that patience and organization, we're working on the reopening guidelines, and Brenda's putting together a packet for the seniors coming back. It is going to look very, very different. And when we have that complete, we'll share it with you. And that'll hopefully be next month, because we anticipate opening probably slowly in June. But again, we have to wait until the clinic is done in the gym and, we get a good cleaning and we have a plan, because even though most people will be vaccinated who attend, we're going to take it slow. We're not going to be serving lunch. The congregate meals aren't able to be served right now. And we have to manage expectations and be very, very clear about what the guidelines are. So that's been, it's been wonderful to have Brenda be able to be part of that and see that. It would have been too much to do without somebody having a fresh set of eyes and asking those questions. So other department updates, social services
Can I ask
is,
a question, Julie, about that?
Sure.
For the reopening, will we be requiring vaccines for people to re-enter and participate?
no, we're not allowed to do that. Most seniors have had the vaccine. We anticipate having, people will be coming in, there's going to be a whole flow. I'm going to act this out. Everybody has to come in the front door. Everybody's going to have to leave through the front door. They have to be checked in. They need to do they'll have to do a quick questionnaire. They're visiting with a purpose. And I've said this enough that Brenda's probably sick of it, but our new abundance of caution has become visiting with a purpose. Like if you're coming for exercise, you come for that class and then you leave. So we will be checking people in. They'll have to pre-register, which is very new for us because we've never done that. And then they'll have to leave, and we'll have to make sure they're doing that. People are very used to coming and going, having coffee, sitting in the dining room, waiting for lunch. That's just not going to happen for quite some time. So it's just going to be, it'll be different. We're going to have to spend a lot of time educating and re-educating.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And as far as social services, we will require our contracting exercise and other instructors to be vaccinated. We are allowed to do that. We are not allowed to require members or staff to be vaccinated. I'm happy to report staff is vaccinated, but the contractors we are allowed to. And that's a relief to me because they're coming in from all sorts of places where they're teaching in very many settings, and that's just a safety measure for us. So social services, almost all staff has completed Narcan training. I think just one more to go, and she's scheduled for next week. I'm proud of them for that because that's long, and I don't know if any of you've taken it. It's not fascinating, but it's so important. We are seeing a pretty stable level of requests for financial assistance. As long as unemployment continues, we're not, people aren't scrambling as much to make up for bills, which I guess is a good thing. But when unemployment ends, as Joe was saying, that is going to be an enormous challenge for us. We are seeing an increase in the need for camperships, which we're able to meet. And we are continuing with our participation in the post-vention suicide work group that is working on a plan for the town in the hopefully unlikely event of a suicide. But that's been a wonderful and horrible challenge at the same time. I think that's it. Any questions?
Wow, it's a lot packed into a few minutes.
Yeah.
Well, mentioning, the function of social services, Julie and I were chatting a bit about next month's agenda, and she thought it could be really beneficial to, this commission, particularly those new members, just to kind of get an overview of what all goes on in social services.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you do get snippets here and there with updates, but she thought that could be beneficial maybe for next month. So we'll dive in more then. If people want to ask questions, you can start thinking about that for next month.
That's a good idea.
Good, Linda.
That is a great idea.
So anything else to add? I thought it was a great meeting today, very succinctly delivered. Look, we're within an hour, which I'm happy about. I don't like to keep you ladies too late at night. You had a hard day's work.
Hey,
So
you know
this is
what, Laura?
great.
You didn't do the minutes.
Oh, right.
Oh, goodness,
Okay,
you're
the
right.
minutes-
Thank you, Linda. Linda, that's why we have you. You are the best.
Yeah, right.
He is on the ball.
So I think then we have 2 months worth of minutes that we have to approve, right? We have
Right.
February, or is it March and April?
January and
Feb-
March.
January and March, okay.
Yes.
January and March minutes, which you all received in your email. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve both months.
So
That motion, Madam Chairman.
George, motion, Loretta, second.
No, I'm not seconding. I want to
Okay.
propose something to our minutes. Our minutes are very lengthy and detailed. And I wanted to just put a question out there because I've always understood minutes to be succinct and really action orientated and not to recite the discussions that go back and forth. And I wanted to put out there, just what are others' positions on the content of our minutes? Because it's almost like our whole conversations are recited, and I'm not so sure that that's is the question. Is that how we want to go forward? It's not necessarily my preferred way of managing minutes. So I'd like to hear what others think.
George?
Loretta, I'm not exactly certain of the question or what the underlying issue is, but my sense is the minutes should at least have enough to explain the rationale of any decisions that are made. So some expose of the conversation, I think, is good as long as it elucidates what motivated any particular decision or action by the commission. It does not need to include all the back and forth. As long as it has something that would, in future generations, can look back and say, this is why the commission did that. That would be
Right. George, I agree. I mean, I think that a brief summary that discusses, discussion about, I'll pick something. Discussion about, take today's, the workforce, operations, and discussion included that the recession of 2008 was higher income employers and higher educated, and that, and this current recession includes, is affecting lower income and lower educated populations. And then we go on to the next aspect. I don't know that we have to go on to, he said this and she said that.
Right.
I think it just becomes overwhelming for the secretary to have to document all of that. And it's difficult to review the edits when they're so detailed and so just dictating everything that's being said instead of capturing the essence of the discussion. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Barbara?
Yeah, I had never noticed it before, but I think because I was out last month, I couldn't make the meeting, and I was anxious to see what happened when I missed it, but I found it a bit cumbersome, and I felt guilty because truthfully, it was so interesting about the presentation, and I want to go back and really dive in and read about it. It was great on one level because it was almost like the presentation was there for me to review in the minutes, but I hear what you're saying, Loretta, that I think there has to be a balance that, to encapsulate without going too much into it. But especially if you're not at a meeting, you do want a little bit more than just, we decided on this, because, you want to hear a little bit of the flavor of the discussion. So I don't know. I think there has to be maybe a happy medium. I agree. This last one I think was a little too cumbersome. Just my feeling. But I was happy to have it because I happen to be a person who missed it. So.
And that was really going to be my comment. I mean, I understand probably 3 to 4 pages or whatever is a lot to read, but I know when I am not available for a meeting, it's always helpful to have that information. So, I think best to talk to Sheila about how maybe to shorten it a little bit so it's not to what you said, Loretta, he said, she said, but at least enough that people can follow, as George says, if they were never in a meeting, they have an understanding of what took place.
right. So I think that were you talking? No?
No, I'm talking to my little guy who's
sorry.
for something. Sorry.
So I think it's important to capture. I'm not trying to say there should be nothing there, but I don't know that what every single person said needs to be captured. So thank you for
Very
hearing
helpful.
that feedback.
So we have a motion on the table to accept the 2 months meetings. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, passed. Minutes accepted, thanks to our friend Linda. Anything else?
Motion
All
to
right.
adjourn.
Thank you very much for that motion, George. Second,
That, Madam Chairman.
Barbara, thank you. Good to see you all. Thank you so much. And we'll look forward to seeing you next month.
Good meeting. Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Night, night.
Thank you. Bye.